Good morning. I was at Target store last week, and there was a mother and a child walking down the toy aisle. And that little boy was making his opinion known. He wanted one of those specific toys, and he wanted it bad. And his mom kept telling him no, he couldn't have that. And after throwing a bit of a tantrum, he yelled out, "That's not fair. That's not fair." I think, generally speaking, most of us want to live a life of fairness. We want to treat other people fairly, and we expect them to treat us fairly. But each of us are determining fair by our own definition, and we are usually at the center of that decision making. Life in general is not fair. If we start at the very basics, where you and I are born, we have no control over. There are people who are born in countries like the United States where there are a lot of opportunities. There are people born in countries where there is no infrastructure, where there's war, where there's all kinds of chaos and dysfunction. That's not fair. We are born into different families. There are some who are born into healthy families, some who are born into dysfunctional families, some who are born into wealthy families, some who are born into poor families. That's not fair. Some of us are able to have good jobs where we can live in a comfortable lifestyle. There are others who, by no fault of their own, for example with COVID-19, who have caused their employers to lay people off or to fire people. And now there are people who are struggling to pay their monthly bills. They're trying to get unemployment, and they are concerned about not even their long-term future, but next week. That's not fair. Cancer, COVID-19. Nobody chooses to get it. It's out of our control. It's not fair. How do we handle situations that aren't fair? We hear a little something about that in our gospel text for this weekend. From Matthew 20, verses 1 through 16, we hear about this farmer who has a bumper crop that needs to be harvested as soon as possible. And so he goes to town early in the morning and he hires workers. They agree on a wage, and they come in and they work all day long on this harvest. But as they have gotten a few hours into their day, the farmer recognizes this isn't going to be a large enough crew. So he goes back to town and he gets more laborers and brings them in. And around the early afternoon, they still are not making enough progress. He goes to get more laborers, and even at the last couple of hours, he goes and gets more laborers. And at the end of the day, the harvest is complete, and he's going to be paying everybody for the day. And that farmer is so excited to have his harvest complete, and it was a bumper crop, that he decided he is going to be generous, and he's going to pay every single person the exact same amount for a day's wages. From the farmer's standpoint, it's fair. It took every single one of them to get the harvest in. Every single one of them were an important aspect of the project. But to the laborers, when those who had been working all day long found out that the people who had only been there for a few hours got paid the same amount as they did, that's not fair. And they complained to the boss. They said, "Hey, how come these people that are only working for a few hours got paid as much as we did, and we worked our tails off all day long?" The farmer said, "Didn't we agree on a price this morning? On a wage? You thought it was fair then, right?" "Yes. As the boss, can't I pay whatever I feel like paying to whoever I want to?" Grace isn't fair. Those laborers in the morning were just fine with the wages they were going to get paid for all the day. The problem came when they found out somebody else got paid the same for fewer hours of work. If they wouldn't have known what the other laborers got paid, they would have been fine with it. But we, as the laborers in this world, we want to compare, we want to categorize, we want to determine who's worthy and who's not, who's acceptable and who's not. Well, God sees all of us as equally valuable. Something to ponder today. And I invite you to check in with the worship this weekend. If you go to Ascension Lutheran Church's website in Paradise Valley, Arizona, we will have live streaming at 10 o'clock Pacific time on Sunday morning. And if you're not able to stream on Sunday morning, feel free to watch it as a recording afterwards. And if you're in the area, we invite you to come to in-person gathering, which we began last week. You have a great day. God bless you. Goodbye.